Hey guys, it's me Devin, and today I am here to do my January/February wrap-up. I didn't get to do this in January, so I am bundling them all together. And in total, for the first 2 months of 2015, I have read 18 books. Not all of them are full-length books, but according to Goodreads, 18 books. So we'll get started with what I read in January. A lot of the books I read for the past 2 months have been library books, so I don't have most of these books with me. So I will be showing you either a picture or a little clip. So the first book I read in January was a graphic novel from the library, and that was Page by Page by Laura Lee Gullidge. Now I really liked this graphic novel. I liked the whole meaning behind it. It's about a girl who's very closed off from the rest of the world because she went from her hometown from all her friends to the city, and she knows no one there, so she feels extremely self-conscious, and she's an artist, so she tries to draw out how she's feeling, and it's just her journey to exploring who she is and finally breaking out of her own shell. I really love the art in this book so much, and I ended up giving this book a 5 stars out of 5. It's really good. I think you guys should check it out. So the second book I read in January was Reboot by Amy Tinter. This one technically I started back in November, but I fully finished it in January and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's basically a different spin on zombies. In this world, if you're when you die, you can be rebooted, and basically you look human, but you have super strength, super healing abilities. You're faster, you're stronger. It's kind of like you're a robot, but you're not. And it's basically just a story about a girl named Ren, who is the strongest reboot they know of, and a boy named Callum that she has to train, who is a way lower level than she is, and they kind of form a relationship, and it's all about their struggles, and I really enjoyed it. So I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read in January is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now this one, I really did enjoy it. I know all the hype and everyone loves it. There were some things that I didn't love. Mainly, sometimes the main character, Selena, could be really annoying, and some of the stuff she says didn't make sense. And I wish there was more actual action than just suspense. But overall, I really did enjoy it. So I gave Throne of Glass a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read after that was For, a Divergent Collection by Veronica Roth. This is a bind-up hardcover edition of the 4 novellas told in Four's perspective from before and during the Divergent book. And it's just really good. I loved being able to get inside of Tobias's head, really understanding who he was before he became Four. And I just really did love this. I think anyone who has not picked this up and they love the Divergent series should definitely pick this one up. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read in January was another graphic novel by the same author as the other one, and that is Wit and Will by Laura Lee Gullidge. Now this one is the same type of art style and it's the same type of story. This one is about a girl. She works with her aunt, I believe, in this vintage shop, and she likes to remake old things into new things. And it's about her making friends and dealing with her past and how her parents died. And again, I really love this storyline. It was really great, and the whole art was amazing. I definitely think you should pick up her graphic novels if you get a chance, and I gave Wit and Will 5 stars. So these next 2 books I read in January aren't really books, but they are. These were the Harry Potter unofficial cookbooks, which each book was 30 pages, and basically the first one was all about these winter recipes that you can make at home that have to do with the Harry Potter series, and then there's a summer recipe guide that has to do with Harry Potter series. They were okay. Some of them I'm not really going to make. It was just cool to see, what kind of recipes they had. So I gave both of those 3 stars. So I don't know if you consider them books. Goodreads does, so I am too. And the last book I read in January is The Girl of Fire and Thorn Short Stories by Ray Carson. Now I do own this book, but it's piled under all of the books up on my shelf up there, so I'm not in the mood to go get it. Basically, this bind-up is of 3 novellas for the Girl of Fire and Thorn series. The first one is told from Alyssa's sister's perspective, Elodia, I believe her name is. The second one is told from her best friend Mara, and the third one, of course, is told from Hector's perspective. These all take place before the Girl of Fire and Thorn series starts, so it is okay to read them beforehand, but it makes more sense to read them after you've read the series, or maybe one in between each book, because then you'll actually get to know the characters and stuff like that. So the Girl of Fire and Thorn short stories ended up giving 4 out of 5 stars. So that's all for I read in January. Not too bad. I ended up reading 2 graphic novels, 3 hardcover books, 2 really short novella thingies, and 1 bind-up of novellas, so a little bit variety. So now let's get on to my February wrap-up. So technically, in January, I ended up reading 8 books. Now for my February wrap-up. In February, I ended up reading 10 books. Now, again, these are all basically from the library. I read 1 full book, I read 3 mangas, I read 5 comics / graphic novels. They're considered comics, but people call them graphic novels, and 1 comic anthology bind-up type thing. So I'm going to get into this and show you the books I read in February. So the first book I read in February was a great book to start off this month, and that was Legends in Exile by Bill Willingham. This is a comic book series, basically taking the fairy tales we know, like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, The Big Bad Wolf, and throwing them into modern day New York, and basically their homeland called Fables, or I think it's Fables, was basically attacked and they had to flee, and they moved to modern day New York and are under disguise type of thing to live amongst us, and it's a really good series. I like how the comics are kind of like older fashioned, like they're not so bright and colorful and artsy, they're just like, they look hand-drawn, and I really loved it. I loved all the characters. I do wish they had some more personality to them, because sometimes it felt like they all had the same voice. But overall, I really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read in February was a book on my iBooks app on my phone, and that is The Key by Jennifer Ann Davis. And holy crap, guys, this is probably my favorite book so far this year. It was amazing. The characters were awesome. The plot was, oh my gosh, and I seriously am trying to save up money so I can just buy the whole series in paperback. Basically, in the very beginning of the story, so it's not a spoiler, this one kingdom gets overthrown by another kingdom. The kingdom that's overthrowing is trying to kill off every royal bloodline so that way they can properly overthrow and there's no more heirs to the throne. And you follow this character, Mako, I believe, and he's trying to save the queen and the 3-month-old princess, and things go down, and he swaps the princess out with his baby that was killed. That way he can save the princess, and the queen ends up dying, and that princess is basically taken away to like rural areas so that way she can live and survive, and then when the time comes she can take back the kingdom. And that's how the whole story starts off. And then it comes 17 years later, I believe, and you meet a girl named Rema, which I think her full name is Tabitha, but everyone calls her Rema. And she's like she's a horse farmer's daughter and stuff like that, so she lives like off the farm. And then the second perspective in this book is from Dharmic, who is a prince, and it's just amazing. The characters are so amazing. I think this book has my most hated villain in it. And I don't say that often because I tend to like villains, don't really piss me off as much. But this villain in this book was the worst villain I think I've ever read about besides Umbridge and Voldemort. And that's saying a lot. So I think you guys should definitely pick this book up. I gave it 4 to 5 stars, and I will warn you now, you're going to want the second book on hand when you read this book, because holy crap, that's cliffhanger. It was, So now I have to wait to either buy the ebook or buy a paperback, and it's killing me, but I'm trying to not spend my money on books, so I don't know what to do, but go pick it up. 4.5 out of 5 stars all the way. So the next book I read in February was a manga, which I haven't read manga in about a year or two, and I really missed it, so I was just looking through my library and I picked one up that looked really cool, and that is Kimi ni Toki, which is called From Me to You, by Karuho Shina. And basically this is a manga series about a girl. She basically resembles this horror movie character, and everyone makes fun of her and they avoid her and they call her names. And she's just like such a loner, and then she meets this boy who's like the most outgoing, friendly guy, and she becomes friends with him, and he teaches her how to just like to interact with other people and make friends and to kind of not let everyone, you know, bring her down. And it's really cute. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's a really cute manga, and I think a lot of you guys would enjoy this if you pick this up. So these next 2 books I read are both comics, and that is the first two volumes of Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. These have been going around a whole lot of BookTube lately, and I figured I'd see what all the hype's about now that there's like 4 books out. And I really did enjoy this series. They weren't amazing, but I gave each book 4 stars. Basically, it follows this couple who come from 2 planets that are at war with each other and have been forever. So they're supposed to be enemies, and they end up having a child, and everyone's out to get them, to kill them, and it's them trying to find their place in the universe. And it's a really good series. The artwork is really cool. Like, I love the artwork. This is definitely a graphic novel series for those over the age of 18. It's definitely a rated M because there are, you know, scenes like that where they show private parts and stuff like that. So if you're old enough and you want to check this out, I would give it a go. So this next book I read was Fables, Volume 2, Animal Farm. And this one follows the same characters as the first Fable. Basically, this one has a theme of Animal Farm. So this one follows Animal Farm type of perspective. So I'm like, holy crap, this is so awesome. So I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And the next book I read was the second volume of Kimi ni Doke, and this one again follows the same characters, her becoming friends with these 2 girls, and it's just a really sweet novel, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Fables 3, Storybook Love, and this one I think was my favorite out of the 3. There was just something about it, the violence, the action, the characters. So I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and this is becoming one of my favorite comic/graphic novel series out there so far that I've read. And then I picked up the 3rd volume in Kimi ni Toke, and this one was just as cute, and if not a little better. I ended up giving this one 5 out of 5 stars. So again, I'm not going to talk about a lot of these sequels and 3rd books because it's going to be spoiling the series, and I don't like spoiling things. So you're not going to know what this one's about until you pick up the 1st book. And the last book I read in February was the anthology bind-up type thing, and that is Flight 2, edited by Kazu Kibushi. This is an anthology made up of several stories written by all these authors, and it's just short little like 4-page stories. They used to be all about things to do with flying, but they've slowly, you know, departed from that. But they're really cute. Some of the stories I ended up skipping just because I wasn't really in the mood to read them. But I did enjoy the artwork overall. It's nice to see so many varieties of artwork and writers in here. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. This is definitely like twice as huge as the first book. And some of the stories weren't as interesting or I didn't like as much. But I think these are great books if you just want quick little stories to read here and there. So definitely check this out. I would definitely say the library first, but anything Kazu Kibushi I definitely will read. So that is all the books I read in January and February. I hopefully will be able to keep this reading thing up. I want to be able to keep ahead. I want to be able to be on track for my reading goal this year, which is 75 books. So yeah, I think I'm like 6 books ahead of myself, which is really amazing. I'm doing a monthly update on my Project TBR status, which I will be putting in my March TBR, I believe, or another video. So look forward to that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books or anything, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below so we can talk about it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. And I will see you guys soon with another video. Happy readings. Bye.